Good afternoon. So we talk about three elements that we know fire departments are very important for what you're doing, and we realize this. Over the last 25 years, we have seen that communication, consistency, and continuous improvement has been a part of what fire departments want to see improved on a regular basis. What is Tenzing? Tenzing is an active online performance management system. Let's take the first part, active. In our system, what we're looking for is that every single month, information is going in for every employee on how they're doing, what they're doing in their job. One of the theories that Tenzing was built on is this: the more feedback an employee gets on a consistent basis, the higher their performance. One of the problems that we saw when we first started working with fire departments in cities and counties, municipalities about 25 years ago, we found there wasn't a vehicle to give them consistent feedback. You did a once-a-year performance review, performance report, an appraisal, and it was all the same for every single department in the city, and it really did not give value to improving performance. And most of the times, people just did enough to get by, check the box, and go on. What we realized, we had to build a system that was actually something that can improve performance on a regular basis. Online, if you have a smartphone, an iPad, a laptop, a computer, you can get into the system. Everybody has their own personal dashboard. We got involved in the cloud system back when cloud, being a cloud-based system, was not cool. And we started seeing things happen from that. We've been doing that for about 10 years now. What I want to share with you are some things that we have found. 25 years ago, I worked in my first fire department. Was probably the worst organization I worked in ever before. That one organization, what I found was we were able to turn it around and make it the best organization in the city. How we did that is we developed processes that Tenzing has been built on. The first thing I want to share with you, though, has to do with 8 common problems that we have found within the fire service. See if you can relate to any of these problems. The first problem is a problem with consistency between shifts, stations, and leaders. Here's what we have found. If you've got 3 shifts, you've got 3 departments. If you've got 20 stations, you've got 60 departments. You've got 100 stations, you've got 300 departments. What we find is everything in the fire service is based upon what kind of leader you have. Your company officers, your battalion chiefs, everybody that is in charge has a different way of viewing it. And here's what we hear people say: oh, this is my shift, my station, my company. Well, we realized if there was not a better consistency across the board between shift stations and leaders, you'll never get your department to the level you need to be. Because here's what we find. Some leaders have high expectations, and some have very low. Some are really tough, and some are really easy. They want to be everybody's buddies. They get mixed up between leadership and buddyship. What we wanted to do is to turn that around and build a consistency across the board, which is something we do. Another problem we found was a problem with communication with chief doesn't get all the way down to the firefighters. I speak to fire chiefs conferences all over the country, and here's what chiefs say to me constantly. They'll say this. They'll say, you know what, I gave information to my command staff, and I know that they were supposed to pass it on down, and I've got firefighters thinking we're withholding information from them. The truth is, no, we didn't. We gave them the information. Here's what we have found. As we study that department and we study organizations, we find that a communication breakdown is not on one level of the organization, it's on multiple levels within the organization. And it's not just going down the chain of command, it's also going back up. So we see communication as one of the major problems. Another one is employees taking things personally. Guys, I got to tell you the story. First department I worked in, a guy was 6'6", came into the room, sat down, and we were doing a needs assessment analysis. I was talking to him. He started sharing this with me. They hurt my feelings. I'm thinking, dude, you go into burning buildings and you got your feelings hurt? And as I started interviewing these guys and started interviewing more departments, here's what we found out. One reason why people get their feelings hurt is because everything in the department, when it comes to performance, is based on subjectivity, not objectivity. What do I mean? It's based upon what a leader thinks and feels about the employee, not what the employee is actually doing. What we realized, we had to take that subjectivity and we had to build a process that was objective in nature. Because here's what happens. If you've got a leader that's a great leader, engages with their employees, likes their employees, wants to help the employees improve, the employees don't mind the subjectivity. Oh, this is not bad. But if you've got a leader that is terrible, awful, aloof, lazy, it's not good at all. So what we realized, we had to build an objective system that's not based upon what a leader thinks and feels, it's based upon what the employee is actually doing. Let me tell you what we've found. We have watched departments where morale goes up. I have seen departments where I've walked in and it was a mess, and we've watched morale go up. Why? Because now if I have a good leader, a poor leader, a great leader, or an awful leader, it doesn't matter. It matters what I'm doing. The way our system is built is to help with that objectivity. The next one we found is a problem with no common goals on an ongoing basis. We'll walk into departments, and here's what we'll find. We'll find some people set goals and work to meet goals. Outstanding. We find some people set goals, and we'll say, hey, what are you doing with those goals? And they say, well, we're doing nothing. I go, well, why aren't you doing anything with those goals? They'll say this: because our chief told us to set goals, our deputy chief told us to set goals, battalion chief told us to set goals, captain told us to set goals, but no one follows up, so we're not doing anything with our goals. And we find some people don't set goals at all. Here's what we have found. If there's no common goals on an ongoing basis, you're not going to get everybody on the same page, and it's going to affect that consistency I mentioned earlier. There has to be a common goal on an ongoing basis. All four of those areas, those concerns, those common problems, Tenzing actually addresses and improves for your department. Another problem we found was a problem with no clear expectations for each position. We just did a study with a 500-member department. And we interviewed a cross-section of firefighters, did 100 firefighters. We asked them this question: what are your regular duties, your station or shift duties? They all gave us basically the same answer. That's great. Then we asked them this question: what does good look like when you do those duties, when you do those tasks? And then those 100 firefighters gave us 40 different answers. And we said, well, why do we get 40 different answers? We started interviewing, and we found out, you probably know, they had 40 different leaders. So what good looked like was based upon what their captain, their company officer, their BC said good looked like. It wasn't based upon what we agreed to across the board. Then we dug down one more level and we said, do you have measurements for those standards? No. So we realized we had to come up with clear expectations for every single position. Gallup did a study. This is amazing, folks. They studied and they found out when employees have clear expectations, they are 15.5 times greater to be engaged for their job, working for higher performance, better results on a consistent basis. Clear expectations is important. But here's something else we found out. As we started studying this, we started realizing that when it comes to performance management, it's one size fits all. And we said we can't do that because what a firefighter is responsible for is different than a lieutenant, different than a captain, different BC, all the way up the chain of command. So we realized we had to build a system that was customizable for every single position within the organization. And so what we find is when you have clear expectations across the board, it doesn't matter if I'm on A shift, B shift, C shift. It doesn't matter if I'm in station 22 or station 57. I know when I do this task this way, this is what good looks like. So it doesn't matter what my leader thinks. It matters what I'm doing. I'm doing exactly what we agreed to across the board. Another problem we found is like no accountability for lazy leadership. Last week I was doing a major talk show on a radio show, and we're talking about performance management. And the interviewer asked me, he said, Bob, what is your biggest frustration when it comes to performance management? Without any hesitating, folks, I said this: lazy leaders. Lazy leaders creates problem for performance management. Here's what we find. We'll walk into some departments and we find leaders got put in leadership because they're great test takers. They're not necessarily great leaders, but they're great test takers. We find some people got put in leadership because they've been there a long time, so because of tenure and seniority, they got put in leadership. And we find some people start out as great leaders, but over the years, they get lazy. Let me tell you what happens. Lazy leadership creates an undercurrent of conflict in your departments. Because here's what we have found happening again and again. If you can relate to this, you understand. What happens is that lazy leader says, oh, we don't have to do it that way. We're going to do it our way. It'll be fine. So what happens? We communicate that message to everybody below us that it's okay to do it our way instead of what we agreed to across the board as a department. Lazy leadership is something, if there's no accountability for your leaders in your department, this is going to be a problem for performance management. And it's something that we see that we has to be addressed continually. The next one we find is no consequences for high performers or low performers. This is huge, guys, when it comes to performance management. We've done this study several times. We will take a recruit, year one. We'll watch a recruit, year one. We watch them become a probationary firefighter. Watch them become a firefighter. We'll track them for 3 years. And here's what happens. Year one, they knock the ball in the ballpark, do very, very well. Year two, performance goes down. Year three, performance goes down some more. We interviewed them in the third year. We asked this question. What happened the first year? They said, well, the first year I was so excited to be a firefighter. I was so excited to wear the patch. I was proud to be a part of the department. And then they realize, and it happens normally around this time, about month 9 or 10, they look around, they go, there's no consequence for my hard work. I'm busting my tail, and no one really cares. And then they look around, they see the guys sitting in the lazy boy chairs at the station doing no to minimal station or shift duties. They're going, wait a minute, there's no consequence for low performance. If there's no consequence for high performance or low performance, why am I working so hard? So we realize there has to be a consequence for high and low performance, and that's something that has to go out continually. Here's what I ask people all the time. I said, do you know what the number one motivator for employees is? And most people don't know. Do you know what the number one motivator is? Ice cream. There you go. I love that. Ice cream. I have some people say money. Why is money not number one? Why? Because here's what happens. We pay so much money today. What do we want tomorrow? More money. It's a temporary motivator. The number one motivator, guys, this might surprise you, but the number one motivator is this: achievement. When people are achieving something, they're motivated. Isn't that true for you? Are you folks to-do list people? Do you all do to-do lists? Some of you look at to-do list, right? To-do list. Now, here's what happens. If you go through your to-do list in one day, you get through everything done in one day, how do you feel at the end of the day? Boom, you're pumped up. Wow, look what I got done. I took care of this. This is awesome. Got it all done in one day. Now, what happens? Achievement's number one, but here's what happens. In the fire service, we do the same thing, shift in and shift out, shift in and shift out. We don't see we're achieving something, but we are achieving something. And then what we find is this. We go on and we realize not only are we achieving something, but we're also seeing that we're making a difference. But the number two motivator, folks, is recognition. What Tenzing allows us to do is this. You can go in every single shift, anytime you want, and recognize the achievement of your employees. And what happens? Morale goes up, performance goes up, makes a big difference. The last one here is this, the lack of follow-up and follow-through. This is what we call the credibility problem. What we find is this, when leaders don't follow up and follow through, they're not trusted, they're not believed in. And we find the same thing with employees. They're not trusted, they're not believed in. We call it FUFT. How's your FUFT? Because we can tell you this, leaders with the best FUFT are the ones that make the best leaders. Tenzing helps you with every one of these common problems, all 8 of these, we help improve for your department. We make a difference with that. One thing we'll tell you is this, we come in and we help leaders be better leaders and employees be better employees. And what's so cool, folks, it's done automatically, and it's very quick and very easy. We're very simple to use. We get in, get out very quickly. It doesn't matter what size your department is. We come in, and you're able to use our software immediately. We have done a whole mapping when it comes to different positions, hundreds of positions, and we can tell you across the country what works and what doesn't work to make a big difference. Here's what we can tell you. Tenzing is a company that wants to make a difference for the fire service and for everyone around, and we want to do that for you. I hope you come by and visit us. We'd love to give you a demo of our system, show what we do, but thank you so much for our time. How'd I do? Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.